Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Main Event Status Sports Show. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show, of course, is brought to you by Haps TV. If you haven't done so, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, download the app. Make sure when you download the app, you tell your friends about it. Tell them all about Haps. Still working. Something going on with my thing. It's not trying to hit on my Facebook account, but I will have to figure that out. I didn't make any changes. So, but if you're on Twitter or Periscope or YouTube and you have Haps, go ahead, download it. Download the Haps app, jump on here. I can present your comments on screen. I got Moteezy joining in. I hope I said that right. Thank you for joining in. Ladies and gentlemen, I am upset and irritated. I'm gonna be honest with you. Baseball is my favorite sport. It was the first sport that I ever had the pleasure of playing. I played Little League baseball. Started at 7 years old, and my favorite athlete before the man whose jersey I'm wearing, Kobe Bryant, was King Griffey Jr. He was somebody I watched play. I loved his swag on the field, love his swag off the field. He's a Hall of Famer. Got in a couple years ago, was 97%, should have been 100. But today we're talking about players that's not in the Hall of Fame. Nobody will be elected to the 2021 Hall of Fame. Baseball's got an issue here. It's time to change some things around because, quite frankly, this just doesn't work. There's nobody being in the Hall of Fame. You can't tell me that Barry Bonds, Curt Schilling, and Roger Clements, when I look at those names and I think about my childhood, those guys dominated the sport. Now, you can talk about steroids, you can maybe not. What do we know? And I will say this, and I'll have a lot of baseball purists get upset about this. But what do we know? Thanks, Lenny P, for jumping in. What do we know as far as the old people, the people like Babe Ruth? It says it's a sad day, as sure as Curt Schilling deserves to be voted in. 71.1%, and put that right on your screen. That's what he got. Now, I know he's been very vocal and saying some not so nice things politically, non-politically. Not a good person, I don't think. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I'm about what you did on the field. And he went out there and he performed. You cannot tell the history of the 2004 Red Sox without Curt Schilling. You have to talk about Curt Schilling and Pedro Martinez. You have to talk about a guy like Manny Ramirez, also who's not going in yet. I understand it's a 10-year process, which I think is stupid. They got these percentages and all this stuff. He's 28.2%. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I just don't get it. How do you not put this guy in the Hall of Fame? So let me make sure I'm gonna put this link to this show on my Facebook because, like I said, for some reason my Facebook isn't connecting. So I want to make sure that people who are on Facebook can at least have the opportunity to click and join in. I mean, everybody should have a Haps TV app anyway, but if they don't, but I mean, it's just ridiculous. You can't tell the history of the game, folks. You just can't. You can't tell the history without these guys. You can't tell the history of baseball without Barry Bonds. 73 home runs. 73 home runs. Did baseball not eat off of that record? Their most prestigious record. The most prestigious record that they have. Their home run record, right? You don't have Mark McGwire in there, but you know about the summer of 1998. They just did a whole documentary, a whole 30 for 30 on it. The summer of 1998. Now, when you look at just these stats, 7 MVPs, 14 All-Stars, 8 Gold Gloves, 12 Silver Slugger Awards, 2 batting titles, and 3-time Major League Player of the Year. You mean to tell me? You mean to tell me? What? Yeah. That this guy is not a Hall of Famer? Come on, man. Come on. It just makes no sense. 61.8% of the votes. It's time to get new Hall of Fame writers, new people with votes, because clearly these people now are messing up. 762 home runs. 762 home runs. Most in a single season, most career walks. You know, I was just with Kurt Schilling in his broadcast. He's a wonderful person. The media portrays him as in a bad manner. I know him. I hope you can watch his latest broadcast with his wife Shonda he did tonight. If I'm gonna do that because you said so. I'm gonna check it out. Something is wrong with you. Something's wrong when you don't have bonds. Yes, but wasn't there performance enhancement drugs involved with him? Here's the thing. The fact of the matter is, Barry said he didn't knowingly take steroids. Okay, whatever. Here's the thing that nobody likes to address, and I always bring this up because we can't go back and verify it. Did anybody think when Babe Ruth was hitting home runs when the most record was what 60? I mean, most record was like 10 or 20, and then he still comes out of nowhere and starts hitting 30 or 40. Did anybody say anything? No. You know, he is on Haps, Brian. Follow him if you can. All right. Yeah, I'm talking about Bonds next year. Man, David Ortiz and A-Rod eligible. How do you see that going? Those are two players. Look, I mean, nobody's perfect. And you know, we don't know what Ruth did. No, we don't. We don't. That's all I'm saying. I say that all the time. And I get a lot of heat for it. I don't care. I can take the heat. I get a lot of heat for it all the time, quite frankly. They say, oh man, what you talking about, Babe Ruth? You know, he's had this glorious record. But he's in the Hall of Fame. You know, Kurt Schilling isn't in, let's be real, probably because of some, like I said, some of the stuff he said on Twitter and all this, that, and the other. Well, how many races are in the Hall of Fame? I doubt. I know we was tearing down statues, which I have no problem with. That's a whole different conversation. But I know that the MLB ain't going back in the Hall of Fame and taking some of the people out that were knowingly racist. Come on now. It wouldn't make any sense because it's about what they did on the field. And Bob Costas said this a few years ago. Maybe you put a note in. Maybe you put something that says, hey, we understand there were some people who did performance enhancement drugs and who didn't. So you put them in. If everybody was on the same playing field, I mean, come on. My thing is, you didn't suspend them. You didn't catch them back then. So put them in the Hall. You didn't suspend not one of these people. None of them. You didn't tell Barry Bonds, all right, you know what? You're caught. Why? Because it would have hurt the money. It would have hurt the money. You would have lost. Ratings would have went down. Ticket sales would have went down. Why? Because people was coming out to those games. You were selling advertising for those games. Why? Because Barry was playing. Barry Bonds was playing. I'm just putting this on my Facebook Live, talking baseball hall. You know, but you didn't say, hey, Sammy, Mark, let's check you. Oh, you guys are on steroids. You need to stop. You couldn't afford to because that was a high ticket item. Those games were high ticket items. Clements in the same boat. And yes, those homers, but put people's in the seats. Yep. Roger Clements. You wanted to see, was he going to strike out 20 people? You know, was he going to strike out 20 people? No. Yes, maybe so. The Yankees and the Diamondbacks, the 2001 World Series. Who could ever forget Game 7? Kurt Schilling versus Roger Clements. Come on, man. and neither one of these guys are in the Hall of Fame. Now I did see somebody say something on TV tonight, and one of the things they brought up was, well, maybe they don't want to put those guys in due to the fact that Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, and there was another gentleman, they'll be going in because they didn't have their ceremony for 2020, for obvious reasons. So maybe they don't want to put them in. You would like to think that, but you just can't guarantee it. So now next year we have to wonder, will Barry, Rod, and Roger Clements get in on that final year of the ballot? Will they get that opportunity to go in the Hall of Fame? You know, Barry Bonds was a phenomenal player, phenomenal athlete. You guys may remember Ken Caminiti, Luis Gonzalez. Those guys were in those home run chases for a couple of those years. Luis Gonzalez was in the home run chase with Barry Bonds, and eventually Bonds pulled away. Ken Caminiti, I believe, was in the chase in '98, right behind Griffey around that time. Eventually, Bonds and Sosa pulled away, just like they pulled away from Griffey. But guess what? They didn't always consistently do it. So you moved on. Barry was a great fielder, and like they said, steroids can't handle hand-eye coordination. This is maybe we need modern Hall of Fame and just close the old Hall. I'm with it. I am with it. Close the old Hall of Fame. It's time to get some new writers in there. You look at baseball. You look at the sport. People get upset. And Kurt Schilling says he will not be participating in his final year voting. I'm looking at my TV screen. Basically, he don't want. He don't think. I don't think I'm a Hall of Famer, as I've stated. But if former players think I am, I accept that honor. Okay, he don't think he's a Hall of Famer, and I think we should do that. I think it should be other players. I have an issue with these writers being the ones who dictate this. I always have an issue with that. A lot of these people, and somebody got on TV saying he's not buying. We know the history of baseball, and they shouldn't do that. Punish them. No, you be punished. You be punished. You can't hit a baseball out of a paper bag, and you're going to tell me that this guy who went out there and hit 762 home runs, doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Unbelievable. 61.8% of the votes for Clements. 61.6% of the votes. Unbelievable. And then, let's go to some other names, right? Scott Rowland, 52.9%. The name doesn't always jump out. Oh, man, he was a great player. Omar Vasquel, I understand, unfortunately, he had some domestic issues that came out. I personally always thought that Omar was kind of the one behind the Jeter, the A-Rods, the Ripkins, as far as shortstops was concerned. I always felt like Omar was like just behind them. Billy Wagner, Todd Helton. Never really thought of Todd Helton as a Hall of Famer. Thought he was a great player. Gary Sheffield, yeah. You look at those Florida Marlins teams when they're going to the Yankees, the numbers he had at the half. Dustin Pedroia won the MVP with those same numbers for a whole season. Now, how about that? Andrew Jones, to me, it was always Chipper's team. Jeff Kent, it was always Barry's team. Manny, absolutely. Sammy Sosa, absolutely. Andy Pettitte, absolutely. Mark Burley, Torrey Hunter, he got some time. Bobby Abreu, Tim Hudson, they got some time. It's just so crazy. It's so crazy, So we will have a Hall of Fame this year. Granted, hopefully nothing else happens and we make progress. And there will be Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, Ted Simmons, and Marvin Miller. They will be honored. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe these guys will be on pause. I hope. Because it's just ridiculous, Helton agreed, yeah, we need to we need to have standards. We need to start having standards. A lot of the writers are not nice. He earned the right to be in the Hall of Fame. Please, people do not know all the things Kurt has done and been through. That's from Lenny P. Ted Simmons, gutter rider says. I said it. I may not, based on a lot of the tweets I've seen from Kurt Schilling, I may not like that. Obviously, I don't know I don't know him as a person, but what I do know is that he was a heck of a ball player, and you knew you were going to be entertained. And for me, as somebody who is a glorified Yankees hater, he gave me one of the best memories I can't take away. Game 7 of the 2001 World Series. Went out there, went the distance, well, not the distance, but he went a long time, and it looked like he was going to lose the game. And then in comes his co-World Series MVP, Randy Johnson, shutting the door. A night after Randy had pitched, I believe, a complete game. Back when they used to pitch complete games. Need to put that aside. It's exactly, Lenny P. It's about what they do on the field during their career that counts. Because if you don't, then you got to go back and take all those other people out. Y'all know, like, that's one of the reasons why I can never say Babe Ruth was the greatest baseball player ever. He didn't play against people in the Negro leagues. So he's only skewed the competition. Yeah, I might be with you on Schilling. Schilling is, it's just frustrating, Like I said, as much as I love the sport of baseball, I love the mind, how you just have to, it's such a mind game, and it's a sport that's so complex. I learn something about it every time I watch the game. Every time I watch the game, I learn something about it. There are many who got elected that have major issues. This comes from Lenny P. At Lenny, including, matter of fact, we're gonna put that on the screen. We're gonna put that right on the screen because I want people to see this. But there are many who got elected that have had major issues, including alcoholism, domestic violence to spouses, cheating, and so much more we don't know about. Exactly. I said that in the beginning. If y'all on here, y'all on Haps, go ahead, feel free, help me out, share some coins, drop some coins on this. I appreciate it. Help me reach my goal. But that's the thing. We don't know what these people have done. We can't go through. This isn't about, and my thing is, you didn't suspend them. You didn't take them off the field. These guys played on the field. 100% factual without naming names. Right. And I said that earlier. Ty Cobb was not the nicest guy. He wasn't. I read all these stories. I'm out of coins. I will next time. Appreciate it. I'm going to drop some coins your way too. We don't know about these people. They weren't the nicest people. But you're putting them in the Hall of Fame, or they're already there. Like I said, they've been taking statues down in school, changing the names of schools. And I agree with that because that's, stuff is being revealed. We're talking about a game, a sport, a game, baseball. It's about what they did on the field. If you didn't suspend them, my man, the Banner Man is here. Banner Man, I'm upset because I believe that that Schilling, Bonds, and Clements deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. When it comes to what they did on the field, it was amazing. Because at the end of the day, baseball ate. They sold advertising dollars. It was America's pastime. See, today's kids would never know the joy of Fox Saturday baseball. When you had the promo videos and you saw, we got Barry Bonds taking on Roger Clemens. What a matchup this is going to be. When interleague play was introduced. When they had those big time matchups, Schilling and Clemens in the World Series. You didn't drug test them then, and if you did, obviously it didn't work because they played the games. You should have implemented stricter steroid and drug testing policies. All right, Montezi, appreciate you coming on. You should have implemented stronger and more strict policies, but you didn't. And because you didn't, you ate. You was able to go to the chewing gum places, to all these other companies. You was able to say, hey, I want to sell ad dollars. Well, who you got? Well, we know we're going to have Barry Bonds playing on Saturday on Fox. Oh, yeah? All right. So since you're going to have Barry Bonds playing, yeah, we're going to charge you extra. We're going to charge you double. We had Barry Bonds in the World Series. That made the World Series valuable, especially the fact it went 7 games. When you had Game 7 of the World Series on NBC, no, it was on Fox. I'm sorry. It was on Fox. You knew you could charge advertisers almost $1 million, if not $1 million, for 30 seconds. Why? Because you had Roger Clements taking on Curt Schilling with all of it on the line. Would the Yankees dynasty come to an end, or would they continue to reign supreme? It was in Arizona. So baseball ate. And because baseball ate, I'm talking about baseball, man. Because baseball ate, that is a problem. That is a problem. Because now you ate off of these guys being in the Hall of Fame, and now you're not trying to let them. I mean, you ate off of these Hall of Fame talented players, and now you're not trying to let these Hall of Fame talented players eat and have Hall of Fame on their resume. So we shall see. Baseball has a problem. It's time to get younger. It's time for baseball to get younger. It's time for some changes. Need some new writers. Need some new writers. All this purist stuff. They get mad when people, hit a home run and they do a bat flip. The game has changed. That's the reason why it's no longer America's pastime. Today's kids would never understand if I told them that there was a one time in this country that people love baseball more than football. They would never believe it. They would never believe the fact that a Saturday baseball, no, Bannerman, they didn't take them out, anybody out of the Hall of Fame. Well, Barry Bonds, Curt Schilling, and Roger Clements will face their final year eligibility next year, as no one is going into the Hall of Fame. It says, yeah, but what are your thoughts on Muggsy Bogues? That time he ran under Shaq's legs and made a laugh. Shout out to Muggsy, man. Muggsy right here from Baltimore City, where I live, reside. Shout out to Muggsy Bogues. So, Brian, baseball is not a sport down south, only football. Hey, Bannerman, I got East Coast bias. Up north, I got East Coast bias, man. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. So, but yeah, it's been real annoying. So I'm about to I'm gonna wrap things up. I just had to get that off my chest, and I appreciate all the people right here at Haps. I gotta figure out this Facebook thing. I'm missing half of my audience. I know a lot of people watch on Facebook. I'm trying to get them converted over to Haps, though. Hopefully they'll come over soon, because they're missing some good shows. But folks, that'll do it. Before I go, I want to send out my condolences to the family of the NBA analyst, Mr. Sekou Smith. Lost his life, complications of COVID-19, fellow National Association of Black Journalists member. So I want to send out my condolences to him. Obviously to everybody that whose lives was tragically lost 1 year ago today, when Kobe and his daughter Gigi lost their lives in that plane crash. So I want to send out my love and prayers around all of them today. So appreciate everybody joining. Make sure y'all follow me on Twitter. I'm real heavy on there at Brian H. Waters. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening to me rant. Baseball is a sport I love. I just want to see it great again. I hate using those two words together, but I just want to see it great, man. You know, it was my favorite sport. Oh, man. But until the next time, I'll catch y'all this week. We'll be back. Better, man. I'll be back talking some football for sure. As you know, we got the Super Bowl coming up, so you know I got to come back soon. So long, everybody.